Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Career Choice Series webinar on mediation. The Career Choice Series is designed to help you choose your career path. Whether you're a law student, young lawyer, or transitioning attorney, find out what it's like to work in various practice areas and the best way to position yourself to get there. The Career Choice Series is brought to you today by ABA Legal Career Central, Law Student Division, Young Lawyers Division, and the section of Dispute Resolution. The section of Dispute Resolution is a global leader in dispute resolution who convenes, facilitates, and supports innovative research, education, debate, and collaboration on dispute resolution policy and practices. The Young Lawyers Division is here to help new lawyers navigate the early years of their career and law students prepare for life after law school. The Law Student Division just introduced premium benefits, which includes a savings of $250 on Barbary Bar Review, $25 off West Academic Casebooks, and a legal ethics bundle that includes a free Model Rules of Professional Conduct ebook. Upgrade to premium for $25. Sign up today at abaforlawstudents.com/go-premium. ABA Legal Career Central is a career center that offers both career development resources and a job board for law students, lawyers, and other legal professionals across all disciplines and career stages. Our moderator today is Liz Stone, Managing Director of the Dubin Group, a legal search firm based in the Bay Area. She's a former litigator and currently performs stand-up comedy at clubs throughout the country. She is a board member of ABA Legal Career Central. Liz, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Emily. I'm really excited to introduce today's speakers. There we go. We have Michael Aurit with us, who is a nationally recognized professional divorce and family mediator, attorney, and author. He is a co-founder of the Aurit Center for Divorce Mediation in Scottsdale, Arizona. And we have Alyson Carrel with us, who is a clinical assistant professor and the assistant director of Northwestern Pritzker School of Law's Center on Negotiation and Mediation. Michael and Alyson, welcome to the program. We are so excited to have you and learn more about your practice. I'd like to start by hearing from both of you about an overview of your work. And Michael, I'll start with you. Can you give us an overview of your mediation practice?
Sure. We are the Aurit Center for Divorce Mediation, and we help divorcing spouses basically go from the very beginning of their divorce, from initial filings, through reaching all of their agreements on all of their divorce issues, to drafting and then filing their final divorce judgment. So from beginning to end, our clients are meeting with us mostly without attorneys, so they're pro per clients over a series of meetings, and there's never a point in their divorce where they're ever going to court. It's all happening through the mediation process.
Great. And Alyson, can you give us an overview of your practice?
Sure. So I am on the faculty here at Northwestern School of Law and through our Center on Negotiation and Mediation, which means I spend most of my time teaching law students here in negotiation and mediation, as the name notes, but I also have a mediation advocacy clinic where students and I represent individuals who are in employment discrimination disputes and have filed something with the EEOC and at IDHR, our state agency, and we represent clients in those mediation settings. Most of my time is spent teaching and training others in these processes.
Great. Alyson, can you talk to us about your career path and how you got to where you are today, how you broke into this practice?
Sure. So as I wrote in my bio, I took my first conflict management training at the age of 16 and absolutely fell in love. And at every decision point after that, I have chosen ways to continue to pursue a career in dispute resolution. So after taking that training, I worked with the local center in the suburbs of Chicago to increase peace trainings in the western suburbs through the YWCA. When I was an undergrad down in Florida, I did a senior research paper on family mediation and looking at whether or not it empowered women in that process. After graduating, I helped run a child protection mediation program at the 8th Judicial Circuit, as well as worked part-time at the University of Florida School of Law, working with their law students and training them to become mediators in our local court system. And it wasn't until I had done that that I decided to go to law school myself, and so I chose the University of Missouri, where I was able to take LLM courses in dispute resolution as I completed my JD. And upon completion of law school, I decided to return to the dispute resolution field and received a position as the training director at a national community mediation center, the Center for Conflict Resolution, back in Chicago. And then about 5 years ago, I became a full-time faculty member here at Northwestern.
Great. It sounds like you really knew what you wanted to do starting at a very early age and were able to move forward from there. Michael, can you tell us about your career path and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. So I think somewhat similarly to Alyson, I figured it out real early on that this is what I wanted to do in terms of pursuing ADR. You know, I was at Pepperdine Law and really went to law school with the intention of being a litigator, you know, being a trial attorney. And in my second year of law school, kind of had maybe like a mid-law school life crisis and realized, gosh, this is not what I signed up for, at least what I thought I signed up for. After doing some different internships at different law firms around Los Angeles, and took a course, very, very lucky was I, that Strauss Institute for Dispute Resolution was right there at Pepperdine. You know, maybe that was fate, and loved my course in mediation. I really just clicked and went on to pursue my master's degree in dispute resolution at Strauss while I was completing the law degree. And, you know, was mediating cases at the LA Superior Courts in law school. Went on to work in several years in the nonprofit world. I was with ADL, Anti-Defamation League, and also an organization called AJC, doing dispute resolution work. Not necessarily a whole lot of mediating, but a lot of kind of community outreach, bringing different peoples together in the community for talks that wouldn't ordinarily have happened. And then just decided, you know what, I want to do this. And after a few years of kind of saving to make the leap, saving financially to make the leap into private practice, did that a little more than 2 years ago, and opened the Aurit Center, where I'm doing the divorce and parenting work that I'm doing now.
Great, thank you. Let's talk about what a day in the life of a mediator is like. Michael, can you tell us about a day in the life for your job?
Yeah, sure. So my days in the last 2 months are a little different than the way that they've been in the last 2 years, namely because I had a new baby. And so there's pre-Daniela life as a mediator. That's our Daniela. There's post-Daniela life. I can tell you that the life before Daniela was basically an 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Schedule, where it was kind of ruthless, and building the practice was kind of a 24/7 commitment. You know, now my days are kind of 8 to 5. I kind of, you know, make it that way, and you know, I would have a consultation on a typical day with potential clients that may last an hour and a half, and that's really an education piece, because most clients who are coming into the office have no idea what mediation is, how it works, how it compares to litigation, you know, how they can get through this without attorneys and fighting it out in the courts. So, you know, I would do a consultation or two in a day, and then maybe a mediation or two a day. Our mediations are 2 hours long, so it would not be uncommon that, you know, I have 2 back-to-back mediations with different clients, and then I save a little time at the end if I have it to get back to emails and look over some drafting of agreements. I'd say that's pretty typical.
Thank you. And Alyson, can you tell us about a day in the life for you?
Yeah, sure. So, I instead of talking about what a day in the life is, I'll have to look at it more like what is a typical month like, because I don't mediate every day. I do try to mediate as much as I can, but my day-to-day tends to be much more, I teach a class, I'm meeting with students, I'm going to committees, and so it is much more the typical day of a faculty member. And what's important about that in looking at a career choice in mediation is that when I realized this is what I wanted to do, be involved in dispute resolution, I knew that at the age of 21 when I graduated from college that there was no way someone was going to hire me to be their mediator in a major complex commercial case. And everybody kept telling me, there's no way you're going to become a mediator full time. It's not going to happen. Unless you become a lawyer. So I go to law school, and even there with my ADR professors, they're like, there's no way someone's going to hire you to mediate their dispute right out of law school. So it was all very, very discouraging. So what I have tried to do is craft a life that keeps me fully immersed in dispute resolution, but doesn't rely on a practice of mediating every day or even every week. And so all of my previous positions have been more administrative in scope, where I am working with other mediators and helping them with best practices or training them in skills, either to certify new mediators or to assist more senior mediators in expanding their skill set. I love the flexibility that provides me, because every day is something different. And I love the fact that I have spent so much time teaching others and seeing that light bulb go off when they're like, oh, there's a different way to do things. But it's been very carefully crafted not to rely on a traditional mediation practice like you might hear from retired judges or others that tend to guest lecture in law school courses. Michael is one of the few individuals I know who has very successfully, in a very short time, been able to create a full-time position as a private mediator, and he's done an incredible job, and it's really exciting to have him speak with everyone about how he's approached that. But I think that a lot of folks also need to realize there are other ways to approach careers that don't require you to mediate every day as well.
Thank you. Let's hear a little bit about the pros and cons of your work. Alyson, what are some of the highlights and what are some of the challenges you face in your practice?
Sure. So I already mentioned one of the highlights. It is so fun to talk to people about this process when it's the first time they've heard of it and that light bulb goes off. They're having that same experience I did at the age of 16 of realizing, oh my goodness, there's another way. And I can connect with them with that sense of passion, like, oh wow, this is so exciting. That complete paradigm shift in how we approach problem solving. I also love helping them see the structure and the clear process that mediation provides, that they can insert themselves into and feel comfortable that there is some structure to the process. I think that the struggle is realizing that even though I've been doing this for over 25 years and still feel like I am, whether or not it's true or not, still like to see myself as one of the younger professionals in our field. There are still so many individuals who we interact with in the law who dismiss the use of dispute resolution outright without being able to adequately assess when mediation is going to be appropriate versus when it might not be. And so that generally dismissive attitude, even 25 years later, is still something that can be discouraging, but is part of the norm.
Thank you. And Michael, can you talk about some of the things you love and some of the challenges in your practice?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me just say, I mean, I couldn't agree with Alyson more. I think that it's so important for people listening, if they're really wanting to get involved in ADR, that there's maybe some acknowledgement that there's not one way to do this, and that there are so many kind of various ways to get your foot in the door. And even if it's not exactly what you would like to do ideally in the beginning, you don't necessarily, I think, going down this road, go to 0 to 180, in 0.2 seconds. Sometimes there are stepping stones. And so I think the openness to kind of get involved however you can in the beginning, which is really what I did, involved in the nonprofits that I was involved in, led me to eventually, open my practice. But I think Alyson just made some really great points there that I wanted to elaborate on. What do I love? I mean, gosh, I love everything about being a mediator. I love every second of it. I love being face-to-face with clients all day. I think the thing I love the most is just kind of giving people a place to talk with each other. The clients I deal with are, in conflict. Their spouses, their parents. They have, leading up to meeting with me for the first time, kind of said and done things with one another that have probably really escalated conflict and caused a lot of fear and anxiety.
And what's a challenge that you face in your practice?
Well, I would say that the challenge is related to the love, which is kind of not bringing the stuff home with me, because I am dealing with a lot of emotional stuff, intense stuff, and I think that being mindful as a mediator, as an attorney, and not bringing that stuff home, and really staying in check, is a challenge. But it's something that if you do it, it's so important to do it.
And that ties into my next question, which is we'd love to hear about what you think the top 3 skills are for someone who wants to be a mediator. Michael, what are your thoughts on that?
I think the most important thing, period, is developing trust with clients. And so, we talk about kind of building rapport. I think that's absolutely key. And especially doing it with clients who you're mediating with who may be in the same room, and you need to be neutral. So building that rapport in a neutral way. I think that the idea of reframing as a mediator is absolutely essential, kind of reprocessing and restating what people are saying in the room in a way that the other person can hear it better. And that takes a lot of creativity. And I think finally, you got to be very patient and really kind of demonstrate a level of empathy to also develop that trust with clients.
And Alyson, what would you say the top 3 skills are?
Yeah, I would say Michael's hits them on the head. That's absolutely correct. And I would add something slightly different, that the 3 attitudes you need to have if this is something you want to do early on as your first career is absolute passion and persistence. That neither one of us got into this because we thought it was going to be easygoing moneymaker. We got into this because simply it was our passion. It was what we wanted to do. You just heard Michael say, what does he enjoy about what his job is? Everything. We love this field, and it motivates us where things like status and money simply can't and don't. So the attitude of persistence and passion, I think, is huge.
Great. And Alyson, what would people be surprised to know about your practice?
So I think that the thing that people are most surprised about is working in dispute resolution doesn't necessarily mean that you're never in conflict with doesn't mean that you're never in conflict with your coworkers and other colleagues in this field. Dispute resolution practitioners don't tend to be the best at conflict resolution themselves in their personal life. Many of us are conflict avoiders. And I think that's a surprise for folks.
That is pretty funny. And Michael, what would you say?
Yes, I agree. And as much as I try to mediate with the baby, it's just not possible to reason with her. I don't understand. So The biggest surprise, I mean, I really think that I wasn't fully aware of how every case would be so different. And even though in the work I'm doing, the issues are really the same. You know, it's dividing assets and debts, it's developing a parenting plan, it's spousal support and child support. Every case is just throws me for a loop every time. So I had no idea that they would be so varied.
That's great. Michael, before we turn to audience questions, I just have one last question for you guys. And Michael, can you tell us how ABA involvement has boosted your career?
Yeah, sure. So actually, I was a third-year law student, and the first exposure that I had to dispute resolution, other than the Strauss Institute at Pepperdine, was going to my first ABA conference. It was in Miami, and I went and just kind of wanted to throw myself in and see what the community was like, and that was a turning point for me. To kind of be around other professionals and kind of have the guts to maybe once or twice try introducing myself as a mediator, which maybe I didn't feel like it, but I think that was totally key, was to like get into the community. So I would say go to the conferences. It's a place where you can learn substantive things and be a part of the seminars, but you're going to meet other people and talk to people and find out their stories and connect with them. I know that the ABA Dispute Resolution Conference is coming up in San Francisco at the end of April. For people who want to do family stuff, the APFM, the Academy of Professional Family Mediators Conference, is happening in Memphis. At the beginning of April. I would just go on and check that out. Go out there and see what's going on. I think that it's a game changer.
Thank you. Alyson, can you tell us how the ABA involvement has boosted your career?
Sure. So I first got involved with the ABA in 2006, so over 10 years ago, and it's been instrumental in my career. It's led to opportunities to publish, it's led to speaking opportunities and lots of leadership opportunities where I'm now on their section council and I help plan the annual conference that Michael was talking about, so plug April 19th through 22nd in San Francisco. Michael and I will both be there hanging out, and we attract up to 1,000 people regularly to this conference. It is the go-to place, whether you're a legal educator, you work in courts, or you're a practitioner as a neutral or an advocate. People tend to flock to this conference to learn more about dispute resolution. And by simply getting involved at the lowest level of a committee, I had to write simulations for the representation and mediation competition in 2006. But every year they just kept asking, do you want to get involved with this? And then how about this? And it just grew and grew until I was asked to be on the leadership council about 4 years ago. So it's been absolutely instrumental.
Great. And that ties into some of the questions we have from the audience right now. Alyson, I'll start with you. We have just some general questions about what specific trainings attorneys should do if they want to be in mediation, and you hit a few with the ABA, but is there any other training that you recommend for people who want to be mediators?
Sure. I would always start with the organization in which you want to mediate. So if that is through an agency, a court program, or some private organization like ADR Systems, JAMS, AAA, something like that, you need to know what is required by that organization. We have no national standards of credentialing, and I can't even tell you that each state has their own credentialing process. Not every state has something in place. So you really need to look at where do you want to be mediating, what do they require, and then on top of that, beyond what they require, you really want to get skills-based training where someone is watching you, giving you feedback, and having you put the theory into practice. We all fall in love with the theory, but actually doing it is much more difficult.
Right. And Michael, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think Alyson is right on. I would just say, depending on the area you want to practice in, Other than the ABA, I think that at least here in Arizona, I know that other states are the same for family mediation. And I would take a look at on apfmnet.org. That's the family organization. That's the national organization. There are some trainings, some 40-hour trainings that some of the states kind of defer to that umbrella organization. If they've endorsed it, then it's good to go. ACR, the Association for Conflict Resolution, is another organization that has some trainings listed on their website that some states will kind of defer to. So I would go there as a place to seek out some quality training, because there's a lot of trainings out there. I think you got to find, like Alyson is saying, the ones that are going to really give you the training you need.
Got it. And once people have had some training, what do you recommend for people who have some training but don't have any actual experience mediating? What do you recommend they do so they can start to get experience and turn this into a career?
You know, a lot of the local. Go ahead, Alyson.
No, go ahead, Michael.
Okay. You know, a lot of the local superior courts have the ability for you to volunteer to do like small claims and limited jurisdiction type cases, like under a certain amount. That's where I started. And so that might be a place to get just some kind of, you know, in the trenches, you know, mediation experience. You know, there's a real deficit, I think, but people are trying to close the gap on mentorship. So if there are mediators that you can identify who might be willing to have you sit in on a mediation or co-mediate a case, that might be a way, if someone is willing to do that, to get some experience as well. Other than that, I think that there comes a point where you just have to kind of take a leap and do it.
And I'm gathering, Alyson, do you have anything to add to that before I ask?
Nope, that's right.
Okay, and I've got so many great questions here from people from people who are all clearly interested in getting along, and it sounds like kind of a takeaway from what you guys are saying is that it really does depend where you are living and what is available locally for you. So the starting place for people looking to get involved, it is going to vary state to state and town to town and city to city. So it's a matter of finding out what programs are available in the area you're at. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's right. And Michael's provided some places to go to find what's in those local areas from as collated from national organizations like ACR. The ABA also has a list of trainings broken down by state. Another place to look is Resolution Systems Institute, which is what their website is courtadr.org. And they list the different court rules from each state. So it is so unique to the locale. I mediated in Florida. Their structure comes from the Supreme Court. It's very clear how you get on their roster. When you come to Illinois, it's totally different game.
Got it. I've had a few questions come in about conflicts of interest, which I know is just always an issue for litigators. Do you have any conflicts issues that you face, either if you're practicing law and mediating, both at the state, not in the same matter, but if your practice involves both practicing law and mediating, or if there's, you know, a conflict if you know one of the parties? Alyson, can you just speak to the conflict issue?
Sure. So again, I would look to the model standards of conduct for mediators, and then some states, again, like Florida, have actual mediator review boards who will help you think through specific situations so that you are not ending up in something unethical. And all of those rules, though, come under, you know, if you're going to be mediating as a certified mediator through the Supreme Court of Florida or whatever local jurisdiction you might be in. I think that recognizing just the the idea of mediation being that mediators are neutral and do not have a stake in the outcome, or even if the case should settle at all, is something you should always hold tight to, no matter what the context.
Thank you. Michael, do you have anything to add to that on the conflict issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think Alyson nailed it. I think, you know, I'm very cognizant of this. My practice is all mediation because of what can arise, you know, pretty frequently, maybe more frequently than you think, when you are kind of mediating and practicing law simultaneously. You know, if I did know a mediation participant, I would look to the model rules. So, you know, I would say that, you know, it's all about informed consent at that point, on the one hand, from the participant's perspective, and it's on me as well, you know, can I really be impartial here? And if there's any question, then I excuse myself.
Thank you. A few questions have come in about marketing and business development. Michael, can you just quickly talk about a few things you do for business development and your marketing strategy?
I think it's really important to get to know the referral sources in your community. And so depending on what type of mediation you want to focus on, you really need to kind of go to the people who are going to refer you cases. You know, in my case, you know, counselors and therapists are referral sources to divorce mediation, accountants, financial professionals, people who are going to kind of, you know, be the first people who hear that this conflict has happened. So depending on, you know, who can kind of put you on the disputant's radar, you got to go out and meet people in the community. It's a lot of pavement pounding, and for me, it was a lot of coffees and a lot of lunches, kind of explaining who I am and what I do and how I can help their potential clients.
Yeah. I know in my bar workout class, there is a list of divorce attorneys that are circulated throughout everyone. So it seems like marketing can happen in all kinds of places. Alyson, do you have anything to add to that about business development and marketing?
Yeah, I would just say two things. So one, I think what makes Michael's approach so unique is that he doesn't just go to the professionals who will refer cases to him. He tries to find ways that the actual parties can find him. And so I've heard him speak just a bit, you know, think about when you're looking for a service, what's the first thing that you do? You Google. So making sure that you have a presence there, finding ways to get to the actual people, not just the professionals. Too many new mediators rely on attorneys to send them cases, and attorneys tend to refer only to highly senior attorneys, retired judges, and friends. So you're unlikely to get cases if you're fresh out of law school or early in your career. The second thing I would just say is you got to know where your niche is. So if it's the bar class, so, you know, who do you know? Let people know that you're doing this type of work. A book club. You know, make sure that your network is aware that you're providing these services.
Yeah. And finally, we've had just a few questions come in about the conference you mentioned in San Francisco. I assume law students are invited to that conference as well. Is that right?
Anybody is invited. Attorneys, non-attorneys, law students, practicing, yeah, anybody. Absolutely.
Okay. And love to have you. And what is the website where people can get more information and register for that?
Sure. So it's at the ABA's website, which is americanbar.org, then /groups/dispute_resolution. If you just Google ABA Dispute Resolution Conference, you'll get to us.
Great. Well, that is all we have time for today. Thank you so much, Michael and Alyson. This was very informative, and we really appreciate your time. And Emily, I'll turn it back to you.
Yes, thank you, Liz, and thank you, Michael and Professor Carrel, for this illuminating discussion on careers in mediation. And thank you all for attending today's webinar. Please complete our short survey before you leave. And I also just wanted to point out that we have a couple upcoming webinars in this webinar series, the Career Choice series, on private and in-house government attorneys and trial lawyers. And then we also have another webinar series called the Career Advice series that occurs monthly on more professional development topics. Please be sure to check out those at our website. And thank you again for attending, and we really appreciate having you here. Have a great day.